There was drama when the ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna referred to the Kapsaret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi as a Class 2 dropout. Now, that didn't really resonate well with Oscar Sudi, who decided to rebuttal. Apparently, Edwin Sifuna was saying that William Ruto is bragging that he is a PhD holder and therefore no one should criticize him, should even criticize his policies. But Edwin was saying that how can a PhD holder hang around class 2 dropouts like Oscar Sudi? And Oscar Sudi didn't take that lightly, and I want you to watch as Oscar Sudi was struggling to rebuttal to Sifuna's statements in English. Many people on social media are saying that he really tried. He was struggling to communicate in English. And I don't know whether it was a slip of his tongue, but he said that Sifuna should not compare him to William Ruto, that he's in another class, more than Ruto himself, more than Sifuna himself. And people are asking, what exactly does Oscar Sudi mean when he says that he's in another class more than William Ruto? Kindly listen to this.
There is very little that Ruto can do in the intervening period to save his presidency, and he knows it. That is why his allies are speaking the way that he does. That is why he is insulting the public and telling them off every turn he gets. Told us that he has a PhD and nobody should lecture him on anything. I've never seen a PhD who hangs out with class 2 dropouts, because what you do then is that you reduce the average intelligence to at least class 8. If you are just surrounded by, they say birds of a feather flock together. How are you a PhD hanging out with Sudi?
Sifuna, you are saying that William Ruto is hanging out with standard 2 dropouts. Let me ask you a question. Our fathers, are they university? Are they graduates? Number 2, can you compare me with you, Sifuna? You know, my IQ and your IQ, it is not even a quarter. So, look for somebody you can compare yourself with, or you can compare William Ruto with, but not me. I'm in another class. Not because I'm bragging, but you can ask my history. You don't have even a quarter of my knowledge. Can you go and ask people or ask your friends if and ask them to tell you the truth? They will tell you the truth that you are nothing. And you don't reason like even a standard 4, a form 4 dropout, leave alone standard 2. Because, my friend, it is not about school, it's about skills. It's not about PhD, it's about calculation. So long as you can speak, you can think, you can see, you can smell, I don't think you have both of them.
Now, Oscar Sudi is saying that his IQ is above Sifuna's IQ. Sometimes I want us to learn. Some of us understand what IQ is, others may not. This is a term that we usually use. Now, IQ, from the dictionary that I have, says that IQ stands for intelligence quotient, and in short, it is a measure of a person's reasoning ability. And I'm reading this because I want us to be the judge. That it is the measure of a person's reasoning ability. In other words, an IQ test is supposed to gauge how well someone can use information and logic to answer questions or make predictions. From that definition alone, between Oscar Sudi and William Ruto, let's start from there. Who do you think has a higher IQ level? And between Oscar Sudi and Edwin Sifuna, who do you think has an IQ that is higher than the other? Now, you be the judge. But now my point is this, ladies and gentlemen. There's a point that Oscar Sudi is saying that sometimes it doesn't matter the intellectual acquisitions that you get. And it's true. You know, sometimes someone can be a PhD holder, but is not helping his people. For example, people have been arguing that if William Ruto is bragging that he is a PhD holder, number one, do you want to tell me that William Ruto is the most learned person in Kenya? And people are even saying that they never saw William Ruto when he was the deputy president. At what time was he going to classes? When he used to be on top of vehicles campaigning for the entire 5 years. And then he graduated. So people are doubting. I personally believe that William Ruto is averagely intelligent. So we cannot say that, cannot doubt that PhD, but many people are doubting. But when you are a president or a leader who has got a PhD, then your work must reflect your PhD. We cannot have a president who brags that he is a PhD holder, yet he cannot use that to be independent. William Ruto is still being controlled by Wazungus. William Ruto is overexcited whenever he gets some accolade by Wazungu. There was a time when he was in front of it was a UN summit, and Joe Biden praised him as a man who is committed to peace around the neighborhood, and that's why he was taking policemen to Haiti. And he really feels good about that. William Ruto, if you ask me, is still being colonized. He never believes in the African spirit. He never believes in the Kenyan spirit. Recently, one of the things that people claim must have caused Raila the AU seat is Ruto's relationship with the African presidents. He told us that in regards to the war in Congo, he had called Macron, the president of France, at a time when France has been declared a persona non grata. Macron has been declared a persona non grata in the West African countries. So William Ruto believes that we cannot solve our problems. He has to involve the Western powers. And that's why I believe that when you have a PhD, then you need to be independent. William Ruto accepts GMO because of Bill Gates. William Ruto, I know, and I know you understand that there's a way the LGBTQ community has got some freedom in the country, courtesy of a court ruling, and people try to associate it to the time when Jill Biden, the wife to the former president of America, came to the country. There was a lot of problems. At some point, William Ruto was called upon to declare his stand on this, and he said, as long as I'm the president, I will not allow. But the court ruled otherwise. With a PhD, William Ruto is still a slave to IMF, and we are taking loans, and is listening to the dictates. You cannot have a PhD and your people are dying, and you're in charge of a country that is abducting children who are just but asking questions and are criticizing you. Critic is part of governance. You allow people to criticize you, then you learn from your mistakes. So when William Ruto tells us that no one should even question him, personally, I feel that he gets it wrong. Because when you say that now it is either your highway or the highway, then it means that William Ruto believes that he knows everything. Governance is always a consultative, kind of meeting, and that is why you have people who help you run the government. But William Ruto has been accused as a man who is micromanaging his people. I understand that most of the cabinet members do not have the freedom to make their own decisions. Oscar Sudi, I don't know his track record, is telling Sifuna that we should look at his development record, because he was saying that his history speaks for itself. I don't know, maybe he's working for his people because is this the third term or something. So sometimes you better have someone who is not learned but is working for his people. If Oscar Sudi is not learned, does not have the average intellectual acquisition from school, but he can work well to develop his constituency, then I think that is it. But one thing for sure that we know about Oscar Sudi is a deal breaker for William Ruto. I remember during the G2G oil, government to government oil deal, Oscar Sudi, Murkomen, and Chirchir were mentioned that the people were having meetings there. When there was something to be collected, they're the ones who were seen around. And even when Ogola died, I remember when General Ogola died and William Ruto had an emergency security meeting in State House, Oscar Sudi was seen going there. So Oscar Sudi is a deal breaker for William Samoei Ruto. Oscar Sudi sits in the highest decision-making organ. I believe so, because he's also a mouthpiece. Whenever you see Oscar Sudi speak something, it is almost like William Ruto is speaking. So when Edwin Sifuna says that William Ruto is hanging around with class 2 dropouts, I don't know, but you see, leaders always love some people who are not really educated, but wako chap chap. He can go there, he can go and make deals very fast and come back. That is who Oscar Sudi is. Do you know Oscar Sudi? I don't know they're still part and parcel of the people who are still maintaining garbage in Nairobi, garbage collection. I was told that he's part and parcel of that. And when you see Oscar Sudi engaging in some contracts or businesses, you can take it to the bank that is William Samoei Ruto. As to whether Oscar Sudi has got a higher IQ than William Ruto, I don't know, because the reason the same. I remember he warned General Ogola and Ogola died, and people were saying, can you come out clean? Can you explain? And he was really struggling, but at least he communicated. Or what do you think about Oscar Sudi?